Welcome back to the Sad Boy Cinema Club podcast. My name is Austin. His name is AJ. Join us as we're trying to find hope and purpose in America's true pastime. Watch some good old-fashioned movies. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. We're talking about Caddyshack today. Released in 1980, directed by Harold Ramis, written by Harold Ramis, Brian Doyle Murray, and Douglas Keeney, and also starring Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, Michael O'Keefe, and Bill Murray. And this guy behind the camera, the cinematographer, is Stephen Larner. AJ, how are you doing? Have you seen this movie before?
I'm doing great. I'm just glad to make it through another day at the old grind, making that money so I can do what I like. No, I had never seen this before. Much like Fargo, I feel like this is one of those movies that they always, like, everybody always has an opinion about. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you've never seen Caddyshack. So now that I've seen it, I can be like, well, actually, I have seen it.
I had never seen it either. And as big of a golf fan as I am, you would have imagined that I would have seen it, but it's just somehow escaped my lexicon here. We'll get into it a little bit, though. I definitely have some mannerisms and some mantras from this movie that I did not know were from this movie. And I wish that someone could have been here watching me realize that this movie is where it was from. Quite an experience for me, for sure. But if you're ready, I'll go ahead and jump into the plot here.
So what you're saying is you were like a sleeper cell? Like a sleeper agent?
Yeah, I heard the phrase that we'll get to in a little bit. And I went, oh, okay. I say that a lot, actually. Got it. Our first shot of the movie is this, what I thought was a groundhog, a beaver, a chupacabra, perhaps, but it was later confirmed that it was, in fact, a gopher that we're going to be chasing around the rest of this movie. It's very, very brief, like 15 seconds maybe, and then we immediately shift over to this household that has about 300 kids in it, and they're all sort of related to the point where the father figure in this entire movie doesn't know who the kid is, but is later confirmed that's his nephew. Too many kids. I don't have any kids, but I can't imagine a household with more than 3 for sure.
So I do have kids. I got 2 kids. Yeah, that whole part of that whole scene was just super weird to me, and I don't really feel like it progressed the movie in any way. I just feel like it was like, maybe there was a different part in this movie that got cut and ended up on a floor somewhere that was an important part, but like it didn't do anything other than establish that this kid lives at home with multiple family members, kind of like the old woman in the shoe and stuff. But yeah, I was like, this is weird.
I would have to imagine that all of these kids were like the director or the lighting crew or like some soundstage guy, like their kids, just to get their SAG card or whatever. Because we don't see another one of these children, with the exception of one who's our main character, Danny. We're going to meet him, as just said, for the rest of the movie. They are insequential for the rest of this. Like,
we don't even see his parents, right? Again?
No, I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think
we see them at all. Well, it's a good thing we don't need their names or have to remember them at all. But the one that we do definitely have to remember is Danny. He's our main character here. He's a high school age kid who's trying to save a little bit of money for college. His dad is a little hard on him, but who isn't? Am I right? They are not financially well off, and his father has like ingrained it in him that it is ultra important to save as much money as you can because, hey, we're not going to have the funds to send you to college should you decide to go. So he is this caddy. He has this job. He's a caddy at this local golf course. And today in particular, probably a lot of times before based on the rapport, but this day in particular, he's caddying for a Mr. Ty Webb, who's played by Chevy Chase. You know, everyone's favorite before they hated him. And he asks him if he's ever had trouble knowing what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. And Mr. Webb assures him that he has never had that thought cross his mind, which is just like Chevy Chase to be an ass.
When I saw Chevy Chase, or I knew Chevy Chase was in this movie, and I was like, fuck yeah, I wish he wasn't a piece of shit. Because I legitimately love his films. He's just a bad, trash person. And I feel like Ty is that prototypical Chevy Chase character, kind of like just the confidence of an average white male. I think perfectly describes Chevy Chase in every film role that he's ever been in.
Now, my exposure to Chevy Chase is pretty limited. I watched Community, obviously, and that's closer to the fact that he was a piece of shit being discovered, especially the way that he treated Donald Glover and Danny Pudi. And then I had seen I don't want to say recently as in like the last couple months, but I had seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation within the last 3 years or so. That's it. That is the only exposure to Chevy Chase I have ever had. So the majority of me knowing who he is, he has been an ass. And it is sort of a shame, I guess would be the best word for it, because I can definitely see the appeal of him, especially in the 80s. Definitely a handsome man, Chevy Chase was. So I understand why he kept getting these roles. I just, again, much like you, I wish he was a better person. Danny is very adamant about the fact that he needs to go to college because despite the fact that he's clueless about his future, he's worried about the cost. 8,000 whole dollars for the year, which would be the equivalent, I did the math, which would be the equivalent of $32,000 in today's money. What I would have given to be a teenager in this time and have all of my things paid for by now.
That's the thing that sucks. Like growing up, you can definitely tell that's of that mindset that I don't know if it was so much when you were in high school, but like when I was in high school, it was like, gotta go to college, gotta go to college, gotta go to college. And it didn't matter how poor you were or how dumb you were. You have to go to college if you want to make anything of your life. That fucked me over so hard because I went to college, I got a degree. Yes, I went to school for 10 years. No, I'm not a doctor. I just have a comm degree. And only thing that has done for me is, aside from giving me student loan debt, which I'm never paying, that's between the government and God, so whatever. And it has allowed me to apply for jobs that say, hey, college degree is required. But I feel like unless you're applying to be like a teacher or an engineer or a doctor or something, you can just fucking lie. You can just be like, yeah, I went to Ohio Wesleyan. And nobody's going to be like, oh shit, yeah, really? Who was your favorite professor? I went there too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I feel like it's part of that boomer generation that would have been thriving during this movie when it was released during the 80s. God, what I wish I would have been more 10 years earlier.
We have gone on a stretch here of movies that have been released in the 80s, sometimes the 70s, early 90s, and it really does piss me off because they keep mentioning things being a certain price point and then them complaining about it as if I can't. We're recording this at middle of the month of May. My gas right now is right down the street. There's a gas station, $4.72. I
Yeah,
could
we're
go to a bigger
469.
city like Jacksonville and it'd be like 450, but that's pretty much stretching it there. So the fact that these people who grew up in this era were complaining at all is asinine to me.
They just needed to pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
I understand too that like at that point that was the hardest their life had ever been. When you look at what's happening now, instead of being sympathetic and going, yes, I understand, like you were also going through the struggle and I'm sorry, they go, well, I did it. You didn't, is the thing. Like,
Yeah, that's it. It's so frustrating because, like you said, gas is 469. I walked in to get a Ghost this morning before I went to work, and gas was 429. I came out, maybe I was in there maybe 2 minutes. Came out, gas was 469, and it's just been climbing ever since. And I was like, cool, cool, cool. This is awesome.
well, we can't dwell too much on the scary things in capitalism. Now, can we? So, Mr. Webb is actually trying to give some advice to Danny in this moment, it seems. He tells Danny to allow the universe to just take him whichever way it wants and to be the ball. To demonstrate this, he takes out this blindfold out of his bag, puts it on, takes a shot over the water, and nearly holes it. Shout out to Mr. Webb, hell of a golfer. He asks Danny to do the exact same thing, but the ball lands right in the water. What else would you expect? I know the answer to this. I know that you are not a golfer, but have you ever been golfing? And if you had, what was your score?
No, I've gone to putt putt and I've gone to Top Golf. I'm not. That's a bourgeoisie thing. That's not for me. You're the real 1%.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in the 1%. I do enjoy golf a lot though. I'm not great. At one point when I was in college, my handicap was probably like a 3 or a 4 because I had expendable income at that point and a very light college load at the time. Now, if I try to hop back on the course, my handicap's probably like a 30. And if I was in a position where this could take off and we start getting paid for, reviewing a particular movie that comes out or brand deals or whatever, maybe I become a scratch golfer. But unless that happens, I don't see me getting any better than I am right now.
If I was to say what my handicap is, it's probably anxiety or maybe depression. Those seem to be the big ones that the doctors give me.
Yeah, that's at least going to put you at a 50. I think those are pretty crippling in the golf games. So we're back. We're going to see a certain back and forth throughout the rest of this movie between the main cast and this gopher and his want-to-be catcher, who we'll meet in just a second. We're now back with this gopher, and he's wreaking havoc on the golf course. He's even devouring a pin on one of the holes, Space Jam style. And I believe the owner or maybe the manager of the property, I actually never got confirmation on who that was, of the golf course, thinks that the gopher is coming over from the construction site next door. So he asks Carl, the groundskeeper, played by Bill Murray, to handle the gopher. And it's almost evident very clearly that he's pretty bad at his job, not just from the ogling of the women who are golfing on this particular course, but just the way that he moves never really gives me any confidence that he's actually good at this whole groundskeeping thing.
He is an assistant, though. He's not the main head groundskeeper. He is the assistant groundskeeper. So maybe we see why.
He's not the step groundskeeper. He's the groundskeeper that stepped up in this movie. And so, so Carl is telling this very nonsense story to somebody, one of the caddies, I'm assuming, talking about playing golf with the Dalai Lama. And then he utters the most important phrase in this movie, but I have that going for me, which is nice, which is one of the phrases I alluded to at the beginning of this. I have been quoting that literally my entire life, and the only thing that I actually knew where it was from confirmed was the Regal Unlimited commercial. That was the only place that I knew for a fact that was in.
Take that, Georgia theaters.
I'm going to say this now. I definitely felt it later in the film, but this is the first time that I felt as if Bill Murray didn't have lines. They just kind of asked him to improv. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we want you in this movie, but you just do what you need to do.
And that, honestly, I feel like he is the most exaggerated of that. But I feel like there are other characters in this movie that they're just like, listen, we don't really have lines for you. This is the vibe we're going for, and just go for it. Just riff.
We meet another character here named Tony, who's also a caddy at this golf course, and he's not having a particularly great day. He goes back to this clubhouse and he's wanting to get paid, but Danny is covering the booth because Lou had stepped away. Lou's the day manager, I guess would be the best correct term to deal with this. So Danny's covering the booth for Lou, but obviously a caddy can't pay another caddy. That would be stealing or something. So he's now waiting on Lou to come back so he can pay Tony. Tony asks for a Coke and then complains about the Coke being a whole 50 cents. Just another thing that managed to piss me off in this movie, because a Coke at this gas station is $2.75. He takes umbrage with the fact that this Coke, which the price point was not set by Danny, our hero Danny, at all. He takes umbrage with this and decides to pick a fight with Danny outside. A ruckus breaks out before we could even see the Battle of Titans, causing Lou to come out and lay down the law. He tells all of his caddies that there is a caddy scholarship available because the last person who had it died of a massive anxiety attack. And if anybody is interested, they need to go see Judge Smales.
That would have been me. I would have been the one that died from the anxiety attack. Judge Smales plays his character perfectly. Like, he's just a smug, like, when you think of like a rich uncle or like a rich, like, distant family member, like, that's what I think of. I have one of those, and his name's Roger, and he's an asshole, so that's who I imagine Judge Smales was.
We are then introduced to Al Cervic, who is another character who I also don't feel like had any lines, but managed to play their role perfectly, played by Rodney Dangerfield. And I don't know if this is more of an indictment on me or the fact that my parents never introduced me to him in other movies. This is the only movie that I know for a fact that he's been in, but his name is so iconic within the movie industry that he's got to be doing something right. But I couldn't name you one other Rodney Dangerfield movie.
Yeah, that's what I came to the realization when I watched this movie. I was like, listen, I need to watch more Rodney Dangerfield movies. I vaguely remember when I was a kid, there's like, I think it's a Don Bluth animated movie. And I don't remember what it's called, but it's Rodney Dangerfield plays a dog who looks just like Rodney Dangerfield. But I don't remember the name of it. I know that makes for a great comment, but yeah, I know he's in a movie Ladybugs, but I've never seen that either. So that's about the extent of my Rodney Dangerfield. I just know him for I get no respect here. Like, I know him from that. That's about it.
He is playing Al Cervic, and he has to be the most annoying person in this movie, certainly, but I would argue a top 15 most annoying movie character of all time, potentially.
I loved him. I thought he was perfect.
He's always talking. He always insults somebody. And we learn later that he owns a bunch of like condominiums and buildings and stuff. So he has fuck you money, which makes him like the worst person ever, in my opinion, for this movie. So He joins the richest fucks in the world at this golf course to play around the golf. And Danny tries to persuade the judge to potentially give him that caddy scholarship, but the judge absolutely was not hearing it. Back with Carl now. He's now trying to deal with this gopher by flooding him out of his little hole throughout the golf course. But this gopher outsmarts him. And this is when the thought entered my brain. Was this before or after Groundhog Day? Because I would love for this to be a connected universe thing. I know that we've established that this is a gopher, and gophers and groundhogs are two different things. But for the sake of argument, I would love for this to be a connected universe where Groundhog Day is payback for what he tried to do to this gopher in Caddyshack. That's what I want. So please tell me that this movie came out before Groundhog Day.
After further review, it does appear that Caddyshack came out before Groundhog Day because Groundhog Day didn't come out until 1993.
Well, I think we have a movie franchise on our hand. We need a trilogy. We need a trilogy that's 30 years too late to really sew up all the loose ends from both of the movies. He does, the gopher, I should say. The gopher does manage to outsmart Carl in this moment. And at this point, I can already tell it's going to be a great runner through the rest of the movie. Again, I don't feel like Bill Murray actually had lines. I just feel like they said, hey, we want you in this movie, and you have absolutely Hulk Hogan creative freedom at your fingertips here. So just do whatever you want. All right, we're still playing golf with a bunch of these rich fucks, and the judge tries to sink a gimme putt after Al Cervix bets him $1,000 that he misses. Again, the kind of fuck you money that I aspire to have and definitely didn't have in the heyday of me golfing. In a rage after he misses, he throws his golf club and quote unquote nearly kills a woman at the clubhouse. I don't know how accurate that was, but she was laying on the ground once we got back to the clubhouse. And I think that she was faking it because, I mean, let's be honest, you kind of have to be rich if you're hanging out in a golf clubhouse.
Yeah, she was just trying to get some settlement money, I think. Famous judge hits you. Yeah. Oh my God, my neck. It's like one of those things, like if you shit yourself when you're in a car wreck, you're supposed to get more money. I don't know if that's an urban legend or not, but maybe it's the same thing. Have you never heard that?
First time I'm hearing it. Yeah.
Wow. Again, you're part of that 1%. You're part of the non-pants shitters.
I think that you have to do a test control. I think you need to get into 2 car wrecks. One where you don't shit your pants as a control, and then one where you do shit your pants to see which one gives you more money. That's the only way that we're going to find out.
I have shit my pants, but I've also had a car wreck and I didn't shit my pants. And the only car wreck that I've ever had, full disclosure, I've never shit my pants when I'm been in a car wreck. I know this is a terrible way to segue into this, but the car wreck, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I got some money for it, but whatever. But I guess, yeah, you're right. I'm going to have to go eat hibachi and then get in a car accident and see if I shit myself and see what happens.
After the judge nearly, quote unquote, kills this woman, there is a huge to-do about the whole thing. And Danny decides to take most, if not all, of the blame, saying, you know, I should have wiped down his club. It slipped out of his hands. It's definitely on me. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. The judge thanks him for taking most of the heat and says that if he wins the caddy tournament, it would look great on his resume and very much a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Hey, if you win, you'll get the scholarship. After a hard day's work of golfing, all the rich fucks are now eating in this golf club dining hall, which I didn't really think was a thing. I've been in a couple golf, clubs in my day. Never once did they have like this full-on dining set, but it is very much like at the same place. So I don't know what kind of bougie ass people are here other than Al Cervix, who has more money than God apparently. But that's not a typical thing for any non-golfers out there.
I feel like that's like a country club thing. And I kind of think that's the whole vibe they were going for, was the elitist like country club.
It's got to be something, because it was definitely out of my price range, and I felt it while watching the movie. Al Cervix shows up again and continues to make an absolute ass of himself. Just again, talking so much, no lines. First thing that comes to his mind, insults, trying to pawn people off with money, like the whole thing. I will say that he did a very good job at portraying that character. I hated the character, though, which I guess is the point, potentially. I don't really know if I'm necessarily supposed to hate this character or not, but he did do it effectively, I think.
I think that the average moviegoer is supposed to hate the judge and like Rodney Dangerfield's character. So I think that again, we're that's the yin and the yang to this movie, and I think that is the you and me vibes.
Yeah, well, he's certainly not going to get invited to my wedding. I can tell you that. He can send a present all he wants, but Al Cervix is not going to get a wedding invite from
So you're telling me I'm not invited to your wedding?
me. Yeah, this is the line, the hard line that I'm going to draw, that you can't come because you like this guy. We're back with Carl now, and he's leveled up, in my opinion. He's straight up trying to hit this gopher with a scoped rifle, which I didn't think that you should be able to have access to as a groundskeeper at this, even at a country club potentially. Seems a little overdose in my opinion. Ty, Mr. Webb, joins the dinner party now, and he catches the eye of Cindy Morgan, who is the Judge Smale's niece. And when you go to Wikipedia for the character description, all it says is the niece of Judge Smales, who is sex crazed. And if that isn't the most accurate descriptor I've ever seen for somebody, I don't know what is, because that's pretty to a T. She wants to go study the Bible with Ty, but just as he goes for a kiss, Carl tries to shoot this gopher, misses so badly, and nearly hits Ty and Cindy with like shrapnel from a potted plant, a vase outside, or something. So why, and I'll spoil this now, that particular thing was never brought up again. That was more of just like a weird thing that this vase exploded outside while we were trying to kiss. Never brought up again. Probably just for like the visual gag, which, I can respect as a comedy fan. But yeah, it was never brought up again. Kind of weird, if you ask me. The next day, Danny is caddying for Mr. Webb again, and still talks about needing to go to college. Like, he is obsessed with this thing, much like you were talking about earlier. This is like an ingrained mentality in that time. It's still there now. It's less so, though. But you had to go to college in the 80s, because if you didn't, you'd end up being a plumber or being a trash guy or whatever the bad thing was at the time.
You'd end up being poor, and newsflash, I went to college, and I'm still poor, so joke's on them, I guess.
Mr. Webb isn't so keen on the idea about him going to college. He doesn't think that it's necessary. He just says to not be obsessed with his desires, which means nothing. That's a weird platitude to just say. And I don't know if that's Chevy Chase peeking his head out and being an ass again, or if that was like a character direction, but that doesn't mean anything. Don't be obsessed with your desires. Desires are your obsessions. Obsessions are your desires. They're the same thing. They are synonyms. What are you talking about? Out of all the things that could have possibly annoyed me in this movie, that was the number one thing. 100%.
I guess we now know who wrote the Wikipedia description for Cindy. Sex obsessed. Sex crazed.
The caddy tournament has now started, and it's a hotly contested debate between Danny, who ultimately best Tony in the round. Pretty good. He celebrates his victory with some more Bible study with his Irish girlfriend, Maggie. Why is she Irish?
Who knows?
I don't know. It's never mentioned. She never says anything about the homeland, but she is definitely from Ireland, for sure.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest, when they said the caddy tournament, my dumbass thought it was going to be like a tournament where they were ranked on their caddying skills, not on their golf ability. Like, I was just like, oh, yeah, I don't know. This could be a weird tournament. Is it like an obstacle course? Like, hey, what golf club do I use here? Hey, what do I do with this divot? What do I do with this? But no, it was just straight up golf. So, yeah, that was the first surprise for me in this movie.
I've never been in the tax bracket to be able to afford a caddy while I golfed, but most caddies are pretty good at golf because, I mean, they're spending all of their time there. So it only makes sense. If I was getting paid to, walk 18 holes every day, I'd be pretty good at golf as well. So that's insane that you thought that.
I mean, does it shock you that that's what I thought?
I don't know if shocked is the right word. I don't think disappointed is either. There's a middle ground here that I think I need to find.
I feel like it tracks. It definitely tracks with what you know about me and having shared a desk wall.
We're at the country club again, but the pool this time, and nothing super important happens here, honestly, other than people thinking that there's this turd in the pool, which, again, it has been parodied and copied and alluded to in so many other like pieces of not literature, but entertainment in this space. The diving board scene, though, and the synchronized swimming, though, I have both seen on Family Guy. And when I saw them happen here, it then clicked again. It's like, oh, Seth MacFarlane was talking about this. He didn't just come up with that. Okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense. Got it.
yeah.
I
The baby Ruth in the pool definitely. I remember being a kid and being like, "Oh, somebody dropped a baby Ruth in the pool," like when there would be like a code brown or whatever. And I was just like, "That's a weird thing. Why would you call it a baby Ruth? Like just like there's other chocolate candy bars like." And then, but I was 100% expecting the end of that scene where Carl takes a bite of it. Like I was expecting that far sooner in that whole ordeal.
well, you had to drain the whole pool because there's a turd in the pool.
Yeah, fecal
So
matter everywhere.
you have to do all the right things. And then, of course, our beloved Carl, that definitely had to be in the script, though. Of all the things that he was just improvising, that specific beat had to be there. There's no way that he was just like, it would be really funny if I took a bite of the turd. That would really
Yeah,
get a pop.
it worked for me. I laughed.
Cindy heads over to Ty's place for a night of fun and Bible study after their first rendezvous was ruined. And I wish there were more connectivity through this movie because that's not alluded to anymore. That's just more like a payoff from earlier, which they're, I don't want to call it a relationship, obviously, because they're not, but their like sexual chemistry, I don't feel like it was warranted enough because between them meeting each other at this swanky dinner, what they did outside, and then her showing up before the Bible study was like 90 seconds, maybe. So yeah, they're both attractive people, and who doesn't like attractive people having sex or whatever. But it didn't necessarily feel warranted, and it didn't feel like rewarding to see it. This is literally here for some sort of laugh, for some sort of eye candy on the screen, and then it's never mentioned again, which I thought was weird.
I feel like Chevy Chase must have had that in his writer for the contract, being like, "Hey, listen, if there's a hot girl in this, it's alluded to that we have a relationship, and that I'm just such a fine piece of ass that no woman can control themselves around me, and I just get to have fun and be goofy, and we have sex like two best friends." It's very beautiful.
If someone's in this movie, I call dibs. That's what I imagine Chevy Chase was doing at his writers meeting, which is again insane. We're now out on this marina, this pier or whatever, to christen the judge's new boat, and again, Al Sarvix manages to ruin everything by his own boat, his much bigger boat, this yacht, even on this lake. I guess would be the best way to.
Yeah, I would say
My body's of water knowledge is not very great, so it has to be a lake, in my opinion.
yeah, it's not an ocean for sure. And then watch, we're gonna get a lot of people in the comments be like, actually, this is. But yeah, so no, I think it at best has to be a lake. But yeah, no, I love when rich guys pull out each other's dicks and see whose is bigger. And Al's definitely packing hog there.
At the very least, in this enormous amount of damage, it's hundreds of $1,000s worth of damage, even at that time. So millions of dollars worth of damage today, and nearly kills a few people. Which again, when you have fuck you money, you get to do whatever you want. I mean, look at the president. So it really does pay to have a lot of money. Turns out. Meanwhile, Danny has successfully seduced Cindy. That's right. Ties Cindy.
Eskimo brothers.
How? Why? Don't know. We'll get to why this happened in a second. But again, there's no like lead up. They just have this one like flirty scene, and that's enough to get things done, I guess. At this moment, I feel pretty bad for Maggie, though. I gotta be honest, because Maggie seems very sweet, and they have been dating for a while. It has been alluded to, and the fact that he's just like, oh yeah, well, we're not that serious or whatever, and just does whatever, seems a little shitty from our quote unquote hero here. After Danny and Cindy play the devil's tango, the judge catches them in his room, which, why would you go to the judge's room to do that? That's insane. That's like trying to sneak around a hookup 101. Don't do that.
Maybe Cindy lives there because I feel like they're looking for her when they arrive, and they're. But I don't know why they chose the judge's bed, except for it was very posh in there. He had the 4-post bed. He had, maybe they're big Everclear fans or Sugar Ray fans. Sorry, not Everclear.
Very posh indeed. After seeing Danny with his niece. He is very upset and nearly kills him. Almost succeeds. That would have been a very big tone shift in the movie had he succeeded. The next day, this huge storm comes in, and this bishop I don't even know if he's had any lines at this point in the movie, and if he has, like, so insequential that it doesn't mean anything to the rest of this movie. But this bishop character wants to get a couple of rounds in before this huge storm comes in, and he recruits Carl, the gopher chasing Carl, to be his caddy, to work at a golf course. I feel as if you have to be pretty decent at golf, even if you are just a groundskeeper. But nothing has been alluded to that fact that Carl is decent, knows what he's doing, knows the difference between a wedge and like whatever. So the fact that the bishop is like, you, come on, is nuts, but I digress. It starts to downpour pretty heavy, but the problem is that the bishop is playing the rounds of his life. It's the best that he's ever played. So good, in fact, that he is rewarded by God by being struck with lightning.
That whole scene, like that whole the way that all plays out, he's sitting there and like you see him like it constantly gets better, and then like there's one point he asks Carl, he's like, do you think we should keep going? And Carl's like, yeah, the heaviest stuff's not going to come till later. And then it just gets progressively worse, but his shots just keep getting better and better. And then like I loved the fact when he was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to let God ruin this my best game ever. Like, why, God, why? And then he gets struck down, and I thought that was hilarious. I thought he was just some random old guy that just saw him, but it totally tracks that he was the bishop.
After the bishop gets struck by lightning, Carl just straight up leaves the scene, doesn't call for aid, doesn't get help, just says, nope, this isn't my problem anymore. The next day, or later that day, perhaps, probably the next day though, Maggie heads to the clubhouse and finds Danny sleeping on the bench, which I hate that I keep nitpicking this movie, but there are so many continuity things that don't make any sense. Danny lives within biking distance of this country club, this golf course. So why didn't he just go home?
Yeah, well, maybe, living in the house with 35 other people, maybe he just needed some time to relax and think, and that's why he slept on the bench. Or maybe he's preparing for his life of destitute since he's not going to get the caddy scholarship to go to college.
Danny is sleeping on this bench in the clubhouse, and she informs him that she's late, and there's this little back and forth, like, what could you possibly be late about? She could potentially be pregnant, so there's, a big to-do. Good guy Danny, at least in this moment, not the whole cheating on your girlfriend thing. Good guy Danny in this moment says that he'll marry Maggie right on the spot, but she is absolutely not having it at all. Judge Smales sends after Danny to speak to him, and he's pretty frustrated with what has happened, obviously, but he does think that he still has a great future, and he also informs him that he's won the caddy scholarship, which is huge. You can go to college in Nebraska for $8,000, which, I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, but so little money. Not to rehash what we just talked about, but God, Danny, you're complaining over nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think that was more so just to like kind of bury the hatchet, because also Danny not only plowed his niece on the judge's bed, he also saw his wife naked, and she was trying to get him to rub the loofah on her stretch marks. So maybe it was just like, hey, listen, if you liked what you saw, come back to our house. We're real freaks over here. Plus, you get $8,000.
We're at this swanky part of the clubhouse now, and we do have confirmation that the bishop is alive. However, he did lose faith that night because he said that he's no longer a man of God and God doesn't exist, because why would you strike me down after playing the best round of golf in my life? Again, my least favorite character. I'm starting to keep a running tab of my least favorite characters, and nothing's going to top Officer Mooney from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but Al's up there for sure. I definitely don't like this guy, so I was pretty annoyed every time that he showed up on the screen, for sure. Al shows up, and it's the same kind of ridiculousness that we've seen throughout the movie so far. He shows back up, and the judge wants to give him a piece of his mind. They nearly come to blows, but good guy Ty, Mr. Webb, attempts to smooth things over. Next, we see Maggie dancing at a hole at the golf course at night. She's ecstatic because she isn't pregnant. She tells Danny, and they're both pretty relieved. Back in the chambers of the judge, the secret part of the clubhouse, the country club, whatever, Al and the judge are still going at it, and Al suggests that they play a doubles round of golf tomorrow with Ty as Al's partner. Ty assures him that he absolutely doesn't play for money. He's really not interested in this whole thing. And the judge tries to convince Ty to throw the match. That way Al won't come around anymore. But then the truth is revealed that Ty's father never liked the judge, and he's going to bury the judge tomorrow. So he'll definitely play for that 40K. Back with Carl now. He is in his lair. That's the best way I know how to describe it. He's in his lair, and he is waging all-out war on this gopher. I mean, we're talking cement. We're talking poison. We're talking the whole nine. The gopher is watching from this window, and he's very rightly scared. At the same time, Ty is out trying to get some practice rounds in before the match tomorrow, but he manages to hit a ball right into Carl's place. There is this big back and forth between Carl and Ty, and I really, again, more confirmation that I don't think Bill Murray had any lines, but this just seems like improv back and forth because it doesn't further the story at all, really. It's just these two going at it. And, you know, we've talked about how much of a piece of shit Chevy Chase is, especially in that time. He was pretty good comedically. And you have Bill Murray, who's great at what he does, and you have Chevy Chase with the peak of his powers. It was funny, but it seemed more like a director's note, like, hey, you guys should do something. We've got a little bit of time. We got a little extra film. Just do something.
Yeah, I felt, especially in this scene, like this was supposed to be like a part of an SNL skit. I felt like this was, you know, like a skit that they did on SNL that maybe got cut. And they're like, you know what, that would be really funny. We need to put that in this movie here. I enjoyed it. I would love to live like Carl, just living in that shed. He was growing grass to smoke and play golf on. I like the line where he was talking to Chevy Chase and he was like, yeah, we should do this at your place. And he's like, yeah. Do you have a pool? And he was like, yeah, we got a pool. We have a pond. The pond's for you. And like just one shot after the other was just hilarious. And I loved when Carl was like, yeah, I'm really sorry about the mess. Let me clean it up. And he just pulls out a leaf blower and just starts blowing all the shit around his little apartment or little shack or whatever. And I just was like, God, living the dream. Living the absolute dream.
It was very funny, but did not progress the story at all, which is important because we're coming up into the home stretch. The next day is this big wager match. Ty is expecting Danny to caddy for him, but he has informed Ty that he's going to caddy for the judge this time. I mean, that makes sense. You just gave me the scholarship. I kind of owe you one. I feel I'm kind of indebted to you at this point. Meanwhile, Carl, good old Carl, is setting up literal explosives around the entire golf course, which is going to be important later. Don't forget. All four of the players are having pretty good match until Al, like, straight up falls off the wagon. It's the worst round that he's ever played in his life. The judge starts to shit talk a little bit and convinces Al to double the pot to play for $80,000. Again, way too rich for my blood. Danny warns Ty that the judge has been cheating the majority of the time that he plays golf. He kicks the ball back onto the fairway. He doesn't count strokes. He doesn't, like, he is a cheater all the way through.
Sounds like our president.
Yeah, definitely sounds like our president. Probably the way he fucking plays golf, too. Al takes a tee shot and ricochets back into his arm. I know that was played as if that was on purpose. That is a 1 in a million shot. You can't replicate that. So the fact that Al, who is having the worst round of golf in his entire life, that he could do that on purpose to get himself out of this tournament, insane. I digress. He hurts himself and tries to get somebody to step in for him. Ty says, I think I should be able to pick the substitute, and he picks Danny. To the judge's dismay, he asks Danny, well, I guess you don't want this scholarship, do you? And he says, I guess I don't. So now we have Al we have Ty and Danny versus the judge. And there's another guy who I don't remember what his whole character thing was, but honest to God, it's not important. He doesn't have many lines in this movie at all.
He does more physical comedy in this. He's the doctor who's always on call. Because I remember at one point in this movie, there's a bit he gets a page and he's trying to talk on Al's golf bag phone, and he's like, no, you can't talk on this. And he's like, well, I guess if it's not an emergency, they'll call back. And so, like, yeah, he's just this typical. I think he was just like a prototypical, golfer who also is a surgeon who just sucks at being a person.
insequential to this film, much like a lot of characters here.
Yeah.
There's like 4 important people in this entire movie. We're down to the final hole, and it is all tied up. The judge nails his putt, so all the pressure now is on Ty and Danny to make it. Ty misses his shot just right, so it all comes down to Danny, which is insane pressure to put on a 17-year-old. Al starts running his big old fucking mouth again and bets another $40,000, a side bet from this $80,000 pot, another $40,000 that Danny will make the putt. Again, insane pressure to put on this kid because I would have pissed my pants, just going to be honest. But more importantly than that, we get arguably one of the most famous gifts of all time with the judge saying, "Well, we're waiting." And again, I wish somebody was here to watch me watch the movie in real time and go, "Oh my God, that's what this movie is." The whole crew is now rooting for Danny because, I mean, who doesn't love a comeback story? And I mean, that's a lot of money to be putting on a literal teenager. Danny hits this shot, but it is just short. I mean, I'm talking millimeters, just short. That is until Carl finally drops the hammer on his explosives, which causes the ground to shake all over the golf course. And I mean, again, we're talking a bunch of damage, millions of dollars worth of damage, tens of millions of dollars worth of damage to this golf course. All of that hubbub, though, shakes the ground so hard that the ball actually drops in, which wins the match. And more importantly, for Al Cervix, I guess, wins him a lot of money. After Carl causes literal millions of dollars worth of damage to this golf course, we end the movie with a shot of the gopher who has managed to escape his fate. And that was Caddyshack. So overall, we said at the top of the show, this was both a first viewing for us. What'd you think?
To be honest, I enjoyed it. I went into it with no expectations other than everybody, loves this movie. It's a classic. And I mean, I really enjoyed it. There were some head scratching moments in it, but by and large, it was just a fun watch.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think it was a really solid movie. I don't think it was groundbreaking. I don't think that it should have won any awards or anything, but I think it was a really solid movie. And then I said it a lot throughout the review, but the iconic sequences and the lines and I have that going for me, which is nice. Like the whole bit, I thought it was really good. And if anything, it made me miss Regal Unlimited that much more. Did you have a favorite part of this movie at all?
Honestly, I think my favorite part was when they were in Carl's shack and Chevy Chase was like, "Yeah, you can come over to my place," and then Carl was like, "Oh, do you live here? You live in," like they just went back and forth. I'm like, "Hey, Carl, I don't really want you here, but I'm not going to tell you no because I'm in your lair and I don't want like anything bad to happen to me, and I'm quote unquote being a nice guy." So yeah, that whole back and forth between them was probably my favorite part.
Bill Murray as Carl was great in this movie, and that was definitely my favorite part as well. Again, it's really, I think that Bill Murray is a great actor when you put him in structure. But I also think, based on this movie, that he's incredible when you just tell him to go. And I think he had one scripted thing in this entire movie, and he nailed it. And everything else was just do whatever you want to. And this stuff was great. Bill Murray has been underrated in my mind for a very long time. And if you needed a reminder of how good he is, just check him out in this movie. I do have to ask you now, though, what was your least favorite thing?
My least favorite thing in this film would probably be like the levels, like with the audio. It just felt like it was at times either really, really low and you couldn't hear them, or like it was like their mouth was right on the mic. And so like, I don't know if it was a microphone issue. And again, I know this was made in the 80s or the 90s, 80s, 90s. So, maybe microphone technology just wasn't there. But for me, that was frustrating. Just like being like, okay, I can't hear them. Okay, this is way too loud. Like you had to ride the wave.
I bet you'll never guess what my least favorite part of this movie was. But it's a mystery to you.
Big Al.
Yeah. Again, I understand his point in this movie. He was a driving force in a lot of it, right? If he wasn't there, there would be no bet. There would be no Danny heroically sinking a shot. I mean, there's so many things that wouldn't happen if Al wasn't in this movie. I understand it. Could we have picked literally anybody else to fucking play this guy? Like the way that he acted in this movie and the character's direction was so bad that every time that I saw him, I went, okay, I'm going to have to gear up for another 5 minutes for this fucking guy. So yeah, I would definitely not have him in this movie. That isn't what I would change, though. What I would change is I would not have Chevy Chase in it at all. Again,
Personal
I think that
reasons
he was good.
or
Yeah, personal reasons, 100%. I think he was good as Ty Webb, the character, but if he was racist toward Childish Gambino and Abed from Community, that means that he was going to be even worse to people in the 80s. So there's just no way that I think you should be able to get away with that. And fuck Chevy Chase. He was the character, Ty Webb, fine. Flawed, redemption, fine. Chevy Chase, the person, fuck him.
my thing that I would change is my biggest one of my biggest pet peeves with this movie was just the randomness. Like there was so much of that film that I feel like didn't need to be in it. Like it served no purpose. It didn't progress the storyline. It didn't grow a character. It was just like, hey, look at this zany stuff. It was like a live action Family Guy at certain scenes, and it makes sense that that's sampled in Family Guy. And then also too, like I feel like the ending was rushed. Like I knew that that's where we were going, and I know we had to get there, and it's part of the journey or whatever. But I felt like we hurry up and waited until the end, and then it was like, all right, go 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 go, like, and that was frustrating too for me.
Yeah, the pacing was weird throughout the entire movie because even have you ever seen Stick on Apple TV? It's got Matthew McConaughey in it.
No.
Okay, so it's a golf movie or a golf TV show, I should say, and I'll spare all like the details about it, but it is about golf. There is an arc in the first season that a whole tournament lasts 2 days. We see this caddy tournament. We saw 2 holes played, and then Danny won. Like the pacing was just really weird for a golf centric movie to have very little golf actually in it. Just really weird throughout the whole thing. We're now at the creme de la creme of this whole thing. What did you rate it on Letterboxd?
I give it a 3. I feel like it's a solid movie. I enjoyed it. There were things that I liked. There were things that I didn't like, and there were things. I know it's kind of like a middle of the road. Like Jesus Christ, you talking about both sides of your mouth. Yeah, but I mean, it was fine. It wasn't like you said. It wasn't like groundbreaking. It didn't change cinema history or anything like that. I think it is very much in line with all of the other movies that came around in this time, where there's like some wacky hijinks, and there's a good guy, and there's a bad guy, and the good guy wins. And it's like
I also gave it 3 stars, and I said it in maybe our first episode as well. I can't view movies in the same light. For example, 2 5-star movies for me are Nightcrawler and La La Land. Those are 2 very different movies. I can't compare them to each other, so I have to compare them to other things in that own genre. So when I'm looking at comedy movies, it's certainly not the funniest comedy I've ever seen in my life, but it's also not the worst comedy I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, it wasn't the worst comedy that I watched that day. So a 3 seems pretty good in my mind. That does it for our review of Caddyshack. Before we send us out of here, AJ, have to know, what's next week's movie and where can we watch it?
I hope you're ready for this. This is a movie I've never seen, and it is a movie titled Shapeshifter from 1999, and you can find it on Tubi. So that tells you what kind of movie it's probably going to be.
Well, I knew that I was going to have to sign up for a Tubi account at some point, and this is where the fork meets the road. I'm going to have to get it now. So maybe I get hooked. I know that they got a bunch of Cartoon Network stuff recently. So if Shapeshifter gets me into quote unquote the best watching experience in the land, I guess I'll take it. So join us next week as we review Shapeshifter. Do you have like a director or anything?
It's the guy that runs Snapchat now.
Interesting. All right. Join us next week as we review Shapeshifter from the guy who runs Snapchat now. But if you don't have anything, I'll send us out of here.
No, that's it. I'm just excited to watch Shapeshifter with you.
That's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for AJ. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. I'll see you in the next one.